everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the Salapaloosa Knits podcast. This is primarily a knitting podcast with a little bit of other crafty bits and bobs as well. My name is Elizabeth and I am coming to you from the beautiful city of Bergen in the western part of Norway, where I live with my wonderful boyfriend, and I'm currently finishing off my degree in corporal psychology. So if you want to find me anywhere else on the interwebs, I am Salapaloosa Knits on Instagram, where I am quite active. I am Salapaloosa on Ravelry, and if you have any inquiries or stuff like that, feel free to send me an email at salapaloosanknits@gmail.com. So that's all the administrative bits out of the way. First of all, I just really wanted to thank everyone who's been sending me wonderful feedback and comments and messages and subscribing to the podcast. That means a lot and I'm so grateful and thankful to all of you. So I really appreciate that. Again, just thank you so much. With that, I think we're just going to jump into the nitty-gritty of the podcast, and I guess I should start off with telling you a little bit something about what I'm wearing, and that is the Mellow sweater by Pickles, and it is just a very simple, let me just show you a little bit here. It's got this little detailing on the shoulder and a garter stitch sleeve, and yeah, they're quite short, and it's a little bit cropped, but that is probably because I bound it off a little bit too tight and I had no idea what I was doing. So yes, if I'd done it over, I probably would have knitted a little bit longer. And since I've been knitting garments, I've also figured out that I have quite a long torso, and I've also got really long sort of monkey arms, so I do tend to add a little bit of length onto the torso of the garment and also on the sleeves. And I think that I have never ever knitted a sweater that has full length sleeves, because when I knit it according to the way the recipe tells you to, it usually ends up being about a 3/4 length sleeve. So I'm definitely going to start taking that into consideration, because I do like a full sleeve, especially on the bigger woollier sweaters now that, you know, winter is coming and everything. So yes, that's that. Anyways, it's knit out of Pickles Angora, and it is a 70% Angora, a 20% nylon and a 10% wool blend. And the colour, I think it's pink rouge, but like I said, it's been quite a while since I knit this, probably about 6 years ago or something like that. So I'm not quite sure if it's the exact same colour, but I really like the colour, and I still wear it a lot actually. My biggest beef with this sweater is actually the yarn that it's knit with, and it is a being an Angora blend, it can shed a little bit, but if the fibres are quite long, then the sweaters and the garments tend to shed a lot less. But this yarn has very short fibres in it, so it definitely sheds quite a bit, and I remember reading on the website that the fibres will settle a little bit, and that the shedding will decrease once you wear it, and that it's only supposed to shed for the first times that you wear it and while you're working on it and stuff like that. But like I said, it's been about 6 years. I've worn it a lot and it's never stopped shedding, so I'm not very impressed with that. And a couple of days ago, I wore this sweater with a black trench coat, and when I buttoned up my trench, it was just completely covered in pink Angora fibres, and I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of that. And as we speak, I'm wearing a burgundy pencil skirt, and it is quite messy with pink Angora fibres. So yes, I've not been wearing this for a long time, just a couple of hours, so that is, yes, not very impressive. But anyways, enough about that. So on to what I've been working on. Some of the projects, or basically all of the projects that I showed you last time in episode 1, have been on a bit of a hiatus since the last week. I haven't had that much knitting time, and yes, so you know, priorities. I've been wanting to knit on a couple of other objects, and also I was a little bit bad and I decided to cast on a new sweater. So yeah, that happened. So that's the first FO that, no, sorry, it's not an FO, false alarm, my bad, it is a whip, it's a work in progress, and it's a new cast on, and it's called the Kristianes Wavesweater. It's available on Ravelry in both English and Norwegian. I have been working on with the Norwegian pattern, so I can't really say anything about the English one. I don't know how that is written up, but I will talk a little bit about the Norwegian one. And this is it. Just going to slowly turn it around so that you can see its construction here. Yeah, I hope you can see that. Here's the front, and here's the back. Alright, so as you hopefully can see, the front is made up of 2 panels of this lace pattern. It's a very simple wave lace pattern, and it's got a panel of seat stitch in the middle, and it's got just plain garter stitches on the side, and the entire back is covered in seat stitches. And I knit this out of the Drops Air, which is a 70% alpaca, 23% polyamide and 7% merino wool. I knit it in the rose colourway, which is the colour number 20, and I am knitting this in 2 strands of this yarn held together. I'm quite intrigued by this yarn. It comes in a lot of different colours. It's super soft and very comfortable and easy to knit with, and its construction is quite unique, I'd say, where instead of spinning the fibres of baby alpaca and merino wool are air blown into this kind of tube, which makes the garments that are made out of this yarn about 30 to 35% lighter than those made with conventional spun yarns of the same thickness. So that's quite interesting. And speaking of thickness, it is a 10 ply Aran or worsted weight yarn, and it's very airy, like the name says. It feels very good against the skin, and yeah, I'm really excited about having this finished. I think I will probably wear it quite a lot. I'm using the Knit Pro Prim needles in the 7mm. I'm not quite sure what that is in the US sizes, but it's the metric 7mm. And yeah, I can just pop it up and show you for a second. This is the needle right there. So speaking of the needles, I am not a big fan of them. I find them to be quite blunt, which can be a problem with a larger gauge needle, but this one just, I really didn't like it. I find that the cable is not very flexible. It's sturdy, but it hasn't got that flexibility that I like in my cables and my knitting needles, like the higher sharps or the Chiago red lace cables that are just the gold standard in my opinion. Both of those cables are just wonderful. And yes, but basically these were the only needles that I could find on the 7mm, so you know, there you have it. I didn't have much choice when I really wanted to cast this on. I'd already bought the yarn and I had the pattern ready. I just wanted to get on with it, so I just got the first needles that I could get my hands on in the 7mm. So yeah, I could probably get someone else if I were a little bit more patient, but I'm not, so there you have it. The pattern actually calls for an 8 or 9mm needle, but as it was quite oversized, and seeing that I do have a little bit of a looser gauge, I decided to use the 7mm needle. And I do like the way that it's churning out. I like the stitch definition, I like the pattern, I like the way the yarn looks, and yes, I think I'm very pleased with that actually. On here I've got my Sucre miniature stitch markers, which I talked about last time. I'm just going to show you one more time. We have this little avocado, which is just so adorable. I love avocados. I eat avocados several times a week, and if they were a little bit cheaper I would probably eat them every day. And this little carrot cake, which is one of my absolute favourites. It's got this little dollop of cream on top of it and carrot, and it's so detailed, and I just love working on this because I get to pass the avocado and the little carrot cake, and I can, as I'm talking to you, I can just feel myself starting to work on this, so I might have to pause this if I need, if I feel like the knitting is sort of taking away the focus of the podcasting. But anyways, I'm going to knit on it for a little bit. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the pattern. Okay, so I had to put the knitting down because it was just taking over, and yes, just having a bit of a life on its own, so I have to put it down, I think, because it's distracting me from talking to you guys, which is not very good. But let's talk about the pattern. Like I said, it's the Kristianes Wavesweater, and this is definitely not a beginner friendly pattern. The garment in itself, the pattern in itself is quite simple. It does not have any sort of crazy advanced patterning in it. It's not difficult at all, but I don't think that it is particularly well written. It's just not very informative. It's a little bit unclear, and if you like that, that's fine. This might be a good pattern for you, but personally I don't like when the patterns are unclear. I like it to be a little bit more hand-holding, and you know, if I wrote that pattern I would just do it a lot differently, basically. I just know that when I was a beginner knitter myself, I would get very, very frustrated with knitting patterns that I paid a bit of money for. Sometimes quite a bit of money for, and I found them to be very, very uninformative. So I guess that's a little bit typical of Scandinavian patterns in general. I don't know why, maybe it's just because of knitting being so incorporated into our culture that they just assume that you know a lot about it and know how to do everything, but yeah, I don't think that that's very good to be that assuming about the people who are knitting your pattern and unclear. So I know that some people like that approach, and they hate it when patterns are too sort of hand-holding and too detailed, but I think that it is just so much better to be very detailed and very clear, and instead of being unclear and the people knitting the pattern getting a little bit frustrated by it. So that's just my personal opinion. You may disagree, and that's perfectly fine. That is my personal opinion, and I'm working on quite a few design projects myself, and writing up the patterns. I spent a lot of time doing that because that's important to me, and that's just what I aspire to do, to write really clear and patterns that are quite easy to follow. Even if the patterns might be a little bit complicated, it shouldn't be complicated to follow the pattern. And yeah, like I said, that's probably a little bit of a typical thing with Scandinavian patterns in general. So if you are looking at some patterns by Scandinavian designers, it's probably a good idea to read some of the comments and feedbacks and stuff like that, just to get a bit of sense of how difficult it is or how easy it is. And don't get me wrong, there are tons of brilliant pattern designers who are Scandinavian who write really good patterns, and I definitely have quite a few that I return to myself and keep buying patterns from, but it's just, I guess it's a little bit good to know that you might want to look into that before you buy them, and you know, spend your hard-earned money on something that's just gonna be confusing and make you mad. The pattern author, I should say, for this pattern does have pattern support. She does offer pattern support, so if there are any problems, I'm sure you could contact her. Yes, well, anyways, that's that. I do like working on it. It's very fast. I haven't been knitting on this a lot, but I feel like I have put quite a bump in it, and you know, this is like probably about half of the front before the decreasing for the arms and stuff like that, so I'm very pleased with that, and I'm glad that it doesn't take a very long time, because that's exactly what I wanted. Something a little bit simple with a bit of a quick satisfaction sort of thing. Yeah, so that's that. The other item that I'm working on that I really wanted to show you is another sweater, actually. Maybe I should have saved that for another episode, but hey ho. This is actually by a Danish pattern designer, but it is very well written. So there you have it. This is the No Frills sweater by Petitknit, and it's called Ingen dører genser in Norwegian, and it's just a very, very simple top-down raglan sweater. It's a little bit oversized, and I've not gotten very far on it, but I'm going to show you where I'm at. So this is it. So, I like doing this, like holding it up like that. This is the No Frills sweater by Petitknit. And yes, that's just a wonderful Danish designer, and I have a lot of their patterns and I have fairly enjoyed every one of them. So do pop over to Petitknit and have a look at their patterns. I believe there are quite a few of them available on Ravelry as well, and I think that most of them are available in both English and Norwegian and Danish and Swedish. Yes, as far as I know anyways. So I'm knitting this sweater out of, let me just grab it from my yarn basket here. It's from the Drops Flora and the Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. And the Flora yarn is made from a 65% Peruvian Highland wool and 35% superfine alpaca. And it's a 4-ply fingering yarn, and the brushed alpaca silk is a 10-ply Aran worsted weight yarn, and it's a brushed alpaca and a mulberry silk blend. So I am holding these two yarns together. Oops, dropped my sweater there, excuse me. I'm holding these two yarns together, and look at this mess, by the way. I don't know, I need to untangle that at some point. I might actually just start a new ball of yarn, because yeah, that's ridiculous really, and it's my fault. I shouldn't have kept it in the bag where it was, and it's all a tangled mess. But anyways, the Petitknit No Frills sweater. The needles that I'm using for this sweater is the Knit Pros Cubic Novas, and if you're not familiar with the Knit Pro Cubics, they are these cubical shaped knitting needles. They are not round, they are completely square, and I'm knitting it in the 4mm size, which is the US size 6. And these are made entirely out of brass. They are quite lightweight, and there are a lot of things that I really like about these needles. They're a little bit blunt for my taste, but they are not blunt directly. They're just not particularly sharp, if you know where I'm going. And I do like that the joints are really super smooth actually. I was very impressed with that, and the cables are quite flexible. I have not had any kinks or twists while I've been working on this, and they're supposed to be a little bit more ergonomical, and if you have problems with your joints and your hands and stuff like that while you knit, they're supposed to be really good with that. Fortunately, I don't have any issues with my hands and my arms while knitting, but it's good to know that these might be good for you if that's a problem. Anyways, the thing that I really like most about these needles are that I do find that they tend to give quite the uniform stitch definition in the knit fabric, and especially when I'm holding several strands of yarn together. So here, when I'm using 2 strands of yarn, I find that the stitch definition is really even, and that it almost looks a little bit blocked, even though it's not. I'm not sure if you can see that, but in my opinion that looks fairly good. So I'm very pleased with that. I also use these needles for another bit of a fluffy mohair sweater, and it was also very nice for that type of yarn when you're using a little bit of a thicker needle on a very thin, fluffy, sort of mohair or brushed silk yarn. So if you haven't used the Knit Pro Cupcakes, I would probably recommend you to test them. You might not like them, but I know that a lot of people love these needles. I have also tried them in a wood finish. I'm not sure what wood, but they're available in wood as well. This is the Novas. They are made of brass. And yeah, so you might want to check into that if you're looking for another pair of needles. It might be, you know, worth a shot. And also, if you have a little bit of a problem with your joints or your hands and arms, they're supposed to be quite well for that. I don't really have a lot more to say about it. It's just a simple top-down raglan. It's a super quick and simple, easy knit. It's completely mindless. You know, you just have to remember to increase throughout the shoulders, and that's pretty much it. I have a lot of stitches on here, and the cable is a little bit too short, so it does look a little bit wonky on here, but hopefully it's gonna look good when it's all finished. I'm hoping, anyways. With that, I think we're going to move on to a little finished object that I really wanted to show you. This is a little bit of a baby knit, and it is a pattern by Knittingforolive, and it is the Ruffle Romper. And I'm just going to show you first of all, so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, how cute is that? I think that this thing is so adorable. It's the Ruffle Romper by Knittingforolive, and speaking of Scandinavian pattern designers, Knittingforolive is one of my all-time favourites. They have patterns in different languages, and in English they have a lot of patterns on sale on Ravelry, and sorry, not on sale, for sale. And they have the most adorable designs for baby wear, and a couple of them have been altered into adult sizes as well, but they are primarily a baby knit or children's knit design team, and the patterns are exquisite and adorable, and I absolutely love them. I've knit quite a few of their patterns, and this one is definitely one of my favourites. There's a lot of stockinette here, and quite a few stitches, and it makes me a little bit impatient, I have to admit, but I love this colour, this sort of mauvey pink purple colour, and the ruffles were just so adorable that I couldn't help myself but to make it. So this is going to be a little gift. And the yarn I'm using is, the yarn I used for it is this one. It's called Anett and Clara. It's 100% cotton yarn. So for the needles I used high sharps in the US 1.5 size and the metric 2.5mm needle. Yeah, again, I just absolutely love this pattern. I can't give them enough praise, I guess. I just really love their patterns. Knittingforolive.com. I think I will check it. I will correct it if it's wrong. Knittingforolive.com. And I knit the 3-month-old size, and it is quite large, I think, and it's supposed to be this really oversized bottom and just yeah, it's super cute. I actually saw that Rachel from the Hey Sister podcast just made this this little ruffle romper as well, but she added on sleeves onto it, and this one is sleeveless, and I thought that that looked so cute, so I might actually try to do that. If you don't know, the Hey Sister podcast is a podcast hosted by Rachel and Tabby, and it is just really good. They are so charming and lovely, and I highly recommend it. They are both really pregnant as well and having babies in the winter, so there's probably going to be a lot of adorable baby knits coming our way through their podcast, and yeah, just check them out, was what I was going to say. Alright, so on to acquisitions. I got some adorable stitch markers in the mail the other day, and they are by Jiggles and Beans, who make adorable handmade charms in polymer clay. Yeah, they're just super adorable, and I saw these stitch markers on Katie from Inside Number 23's Instagram. If you're not familiar, she is one of my all-time favourite podcasters. She is Miss Lavalley on Instagram, and her podcast is Inside Number 23, and she is amazing. Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. She's just amazing. So you need to go over there and look at her podcast, Inside Number 23. And I saw that on her Instagram she posted a picture of some Jiggles and Beans charms that she had gotten, and I loved the way they looked, and I immediately ran over to Etsy and looked at her shop, at the Jiggles and Beans shop, that is. And I got a couple of adorable stitch markers. First of all, we have this guy. He's a little cookie. Look at his little face. Isn't he just the most adorable thing you ever seen? I love his little face. I think he's so cute. And I can't wait to use him. That sounded weird. I can't wait to use the stitch marker and put it on some of my knitting. I've been saving it a little bit for you guys. And the other one is this lovely sprinkle cupcake right there. Her packaging is really cute and so well put together, and I really appreciate that. That's one of my favourite things with buying from different makers. It's just the little bit of extra that they put into their orders, it being packaging or thank you notes or whatever it is, but I really like that. It gives it a little bit of more of a personal touch, and yes. Anyways, the Jiggles and Beans. It's run by Deanne, who is based in the UK, and she just offers the most amazing customer service. She was so helpful and delightful, and I just highly recommend her shop. It is Jiggles and Beans on Etsy, so you should definitely pop over there and look at some of her adorable charms. I really want to get some more of them. She's got this little peas in a pod charm that is just adorable. They've also, the little peas have got little faces on them, and yes, it's super cute. And she's got this little Halloween themed stitch marker, and I think maybe think she's got quite a few of them, come to think of it, but there's one in particular that really caught my eye, and it's this little polymer clay vampire, and it's made out of glow-in-the-dark, some sort of glow-in-the-dark polymer clay, I guess, and it's just adorable. I really want them. So I think that I need to pop into Diane's shop quite regularly to keep my eyes open for the little vampire glow-in-the-dark charm, because I just really want one. Yeah, you know, Halloween's coming up and my birthday's in October, so you know, I can make up an excuse to get one, I'm sure. Yes. Like I mentioned in the last episode, the wonderful dyer behind Stranded Dyeworks, Amy, who is also the host of the Stranded podcast, which is a brilliant podcast. You should absolutely go and check it out if you haven't seen it before. She just launched her new website, which is strandeddyeworks.co.uk, and I was lucky enough to grab a skein of yarn on her first update, and I actually put a couple of skeins in my basket, but somebody cart-jacked me, and when I got to the checkout there was only one available. But you know, it happens. I'm super pleased for Amy that her shop was such a great success on their first night, so I'll get them another time, and I got the one that I was most excited about anyway, so who cares, I'll get it another time. So without further ado, this is the skein that I got. Hope that the sort of gloriousness of this skein is coming through on the camera. This is the Botanical colourway on her Paradise MCN, which is a 80-10-10 superwash merino nylon cashmere base. It's fingering weight, it's 400 meters and 437 yards. And I'm going to show you one more time because it's so beautiful. Look at those speckles. And I just realised that there's a little bit of red in there. I haven't even seen that before. It's really gorgeous. It's this really sort of pale, neutral, maybe with a hint of pale green, but it's mostly neutral, and it's got these bright green and blue speckles throughout, and oh, I just loved it, and it's so soft. I love Amy's work. If you haven't gotten any of her yarn and you're looking for some hand-dyed yarn, I highly recommend her shop. It's strandeddyeworks.co.uk. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this skein. I really wanted to make socks out of it, perhaps the apple blossom socks or something like that. But I'm also working on a couple of design projects that this would be really good with, and in particular a little baby romper, and I think that would be so adorable, and this a little neutral muted colourway with just the gorgeous pops of colour throughout, and yeah, oh gosh, I love these speckles. I really love these speckles and this yarn. So that's an option, or else it's, you know, it's going to be amazing socks if we go that way. So yes, those are the acquisitions that I wanted to share with you this week. Like I said, I've been working on a couple of design projects, and I'm really excited about that, and I can hardly wait to show you guys. And it's just taking a little bit of time because I want to make sure that the patterns are really well written and the instructions are clear and stuff like that. So I've been working on that for quite a while, and I'm just totally gone showing you for a little bit more until I've got something completely ready for test knits, I think, and we'll get back to that. But it's very exciting, and yeah, I can't wait to show you. Alrighty, I think that's it for the knitting content this week. It's been quite an exciting week. We are, not me personally, but my city is hosting the UCI World Road Championship, which is a gigantic cycling event. That's an annual thing, and my city is hosting it this year, and there are so many people here, and there are races happening every single day, and yeah, it's really exciting. There is just tons of things going on, and the only bit of an issue with that is that we live in the city centre, and basically all the roads are completely on lockdown because of the races, and that it durates all day and all morning and into the evening a little bit as well. So if we're going somewhere, we pretty much have to plan it quite detailed, and we're not used to that living in the city. We have our car right outside our door, and it's so easy to get around, but yeah, it's a little bit more challenging now. And we went to my boyfriend's brother and his wife's for brunch on Sunday, and that was so nice and really great. But we did have to park our car like 2 miles away from our house just to be able to get onto the roads because everything was closed down. And but well, it was really nice actually, because we had a bit of a Sunday morning walk to the car, and yeah, that was great. But we are going to a christening on Sunday, and I have no idea how we're going to get there because every single road is closed down surrounding the place where the christening is, both the church and where they're having the party afterwards. So that's a bit of a challenge, but I'm sure we'll figure something out. That reminds me that I don't have figured out a christening gift yet either, so if you have any suggestions, that would be highly appreciated. It's a christening for a little baby girl, and yeah, I haven't got a clue. I do like giving books for christenings, like children's collectible fairy tale books and stuff like that, but I thought I might do something different, and yeah, if you have any suggestions, please let me know. So the last week I've also been watching a show that I just thought was so extremely entertaining that if you haven't seen it, I thought I should pop in a little bit of a recommendation here at the end. It's a show on Netflix, and it's called Glow, and it's a comedy drama series, and it revolves around a group of women who are entering the 80s professional wrestling circuit, and I thought that it was just hilarious and quite cringe-worthy actually. There's just so many things that happen where you just go like, oh no, oh don't do that, oh no. But it's super entertaining, and if you don't mind a little bit of cringe, it's absolutely brilliant. It's so funny, and I thought it was really well written, and I just feel like the show really sort of owns its own very showy aesthetic, and it's very smart and subversive as well, and you just need to get sort of underneath the very glittery 80s surface, but it is very, very, very funny, and I absolutely loved it. I do hope they'll make another season of it. The entire season 1 is available on Netflix, and we just got through it in a couple of days, I think, because we couldn't stop watching it, and gave it all our free time, really. Yeah, so that's a bit of a series recommendation for you. So that's Glow on Netflix. Go check it out if you're looking for a new show. It's great. Alrighty, so with that I think we're going to wrap up this week's episode. I need to figure out what to make for dinner because I'm getting a little bit hungry, and the hungrier I get, the harder it will be for me to make a decision. Yeah, that's just how my brain works. So thanks to everyone who's been watching. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button, to leave me a comment or DM me on Instagram or wherever you want. And I'll see you guys in a little bit, and hope you have a wonderful week with a lot of knitting and crafty goodness. See you later. Bye!